It's a Mailbag Monday. We've got a lot of questions about the Jays, the connection between Nomar Garciaparra and Marcus Smart, and the Celtics versus the world. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Bean Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday through July. August and September, we're going to drop to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or we'll keep going with multiple 4 or 5 days a week if circumstances dictate. Maybe Team USA, maybe something happens. But we scale back in August and September. Just so you know, August and September, when it slows down and nothing's happening, I'm still giving you 3 podcasts a week. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section and let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the world champion Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And I'm also the author of Built Different, commemorative book celebrating that championship run. Find it everywhere books are sold online. Locally, you can find it I've seen it in Walgreens, it's at BJ's, it's at Sam's Club, it's at bookstores, it's all over the place. So check it out. Soon, I will be offering signed copies on my website. So make sure you get in there. Today's a mailbag episode. You can also go to my website to submit your mailbag questions, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Submit your questions. Mailbags every Monday throughout the course of the off season, and maybe bonus mailbags depending on how many questions we get throughout, the rest of the week, just in case. All right. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As things have wound down and sports stop sportsing the way we want them to, FanDuel is hooking up everybody with a booster bonus daily. That's right. Something for everybody every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Like I said, today's a mailbag episode. Celtics versus the world later on. Talk about Jordan Walsh. Talk about Nomar and Smart. First segment, all about the Jays and let's just start with it. We'll start with Quinn. Jaylen won Finals MVP instead of Jayson Tatum. Do you think that in the future, Brown will be the team's best player? Well, you know what? I'm going to read all the questions that I have here because it's all interrelated. Zach says, between all of this, everything that's happened, where does this put Jayson Tatum's status in the all-time greats? Is Tatum continuing a trajectory? Is his continued trajectory on pace with Pierce or to surpass Pierce? And then Brixon says, my opinion is for the Celtics to take it to the next level. Jayson should focus on becoming a facilitator and aim to become a consistent 25-10-10 player, while Brown should look to take on the role of leading scorer. Okay, so there's a lot here, and I think the reason why I got all of these questions out there at once, they're all kind of related, and the answer to all of them is kind of intertwined. So the strength of the Celtics is that there is no singular best player that needs to be the best player every night. With this team, the way they won the championship. In fact, I'll relay a story. I had a neighbor of mine. We were talking about the team, and he said to me, I don't really know basketball. I don't really watch a whole lot of it, but I watched the NBA Finals, and this just looks like a team. It looks like a bunch of guys that are willing to move the ball and pass the ball and play team basketball. That is I loved that feedback because he knows who the guys are, but he doesn't watch. And like, so this is a very unfiltered impression. And I love having that kind of like 30,000 foot view of like, you know what? I don't really know what's supposed to be happening, but I look at it and I just see everybody passing the ball. And that's perfect. That is perfect. And that's what these Celtics are. That's the strength of these Celtics. And I think that's the strength of NBA teams that are going to be champions in the future. This is not a heliocentric, this guy's the best player, this guy's the second best player. They won with Jaylen being the finals MVP and the Eastern Conference finals MVP. But Jayson also had an argument. Drew Holiday also had an argument. Derek White had a little bit of an argument from, not entirely, but he had games where it was like, that dude, if it was like the NHL where they give the playoffs MVP, which suggestion, by the way, to the NBA, how about a finals MVP and a playoffs MVP instead of the Eastern Conference finals MVP? Just do one for the whole playoffs, because then, Derek White might have had a case there. Either way, whether Jaylen is the best player or Jayson is the best player, none of that stuff really matters. Not to me. I don't think it matters to the team. I think these guys are about winning, playing team basketball. Some nights it's going to be Jayson 25, 10, 10, triple double. Some nights it's going to be Jaylen 25, maybe he'll have a triple double. He's not quite as much of a triple double threat as Tatum is, but even if it's 25, 7 and 7, and Tatum is the 35-point guy, it doesn't matter with these Celtics. So I don't want people to start ranking, well, Jayson's the best player, but what if Jaylen's the best player? And what if no, that's not what the Celtics need. That's not what the Celtics should be. And that's not what we should be looking for on the outside. Who's the best player? They're all the best player. And that's how this team should be operating. On any given night, channeling Joe Mazzulla when he says success looks different every night. Success can look different on a night-to-night basis. This is what he means. This is what it's about. This is what the Celtics are. This is their identity. On Monday, could be Derek White as the best player on the floor. On Wednesday, it could be Kristaps Porzingis. On Thursday, it'll be Jaylen. And on Saturday, it's Jayson. And somewhere in the next week, Drew will have a turn. Sam Hauser will have a turn. It's just anybody at any time. And this is where the whatever it takes mentality, that's why they put whatever it takes on the t-shirt. I think that was the Game 5 giveaway t-shirt. Whatever it takes. This is Joe Mazzulla's, I think, greatest success coaching this team, is getting these guys to buy into the mantra of whatever it takes. And if you do whatever it takes, then everybody eats. Everybody gets the shine. And so what's Tatum's status amongst the all-time greats? Well, he's still only 26. Let him have 5 more years. Hopefully he plays out all 5 years of his extension with Boston. Let's see what he does in those 5 years. I think he can be looked at as, you see Bill Russell and Larry Bird and Havlicek as the kind of top 3, and who's number 4 is kind of up for debate. Maybe Pierce is 3. Maybe Havlicek slips to 4. Maybe Kevin McHale slips in there. But Tatum has a case for being top 3. But Jaylen has a case to, if he sticks around for the entirety of his contract, Where does Jaylen slot in there? Like there are cases to be built, and we'll figure out where they land whenever they land, right? You don't know how far they can go. And as I've said before, I've gotten myself into trouble trying to put Jaylen Brown in a box. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't know where he's going to land in all-time Celtics lore. Let's see how this goes over the next few years. They're going to have this season, maybe the next season, and 3 seasons from now, that third season from now, shrug. I don't know who's going to stick around, who's not. If they both stick around, then they both have a case for being one of the all-time greats. And I'll just leave it at that. We can't start, and I know it's a fun like barroom conversation to have, but it's, to me, I would prefer not to judge the movie halfway through the movie, because who knows how the ending's going to impact things. Right now, it's a pretty damn good movie for both these guys. Jaylen's trajectory is much different than Jayson's, but where they intersect, if they intersect, maybe they just meet somewhere and rise together. Who knows? Enjoy the fact that these guys are here, that they can both be either the number one scorer on the night or the guy doing all of the little things. Just enjoy the fact that both of those guys can do it. And if the Celtics are going to win it all again, it's because both those guys are doing everything. Let's get into this connection between Nomar and Marcus and Jordan Walsh and all of that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. We know that sports are slowing down a little bit over the summer, but even though the sports aren't what we would like them to be, they're not what they are at the end of the spring or the beginning of the fall when everything is in play. It's all right. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up everybody, new customers, existing customers. Everybody gets a boost or a bonus every day. There's something for everybody all day long. So head on over to FanDuel. Start making the most out of your summer. You can bet on anything. You can bet on player props. You can bet on just the straight money lines. You can bet against the spread. You can take advantage of the tools that they have so you can set your budgets, so you can set your limits. Make sure that you are enjoying yourself over at FanDuel.com, and you're gambling responsibly at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube, on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's free. It's the best sports conversation around. No fake arguments like you'll see on major networks. No contrived storylines. Just good sports takes over on Locked On Sports Today. Let's get back to the mailbag here. Emil says, have you thought about the relation of the 2004 Red Sox trading Nomar and going to the World Series in respect to the Celtics doing the same with Marcus Smart? Has this happened in other cities and other sports where a player drafted and believed was traded away for the team to win in the same year? Look, players, I haven't gone through every sport and to see if a longtime player being traded away has eventually led to a championship. I think it's interesting. It's first of all, two different circumstances, because I believe Nomar was traded mid-season. And that was, he was traded mid-season because he was sulking. That was not going well. And I think people it's not the first time I've seen this connection. Oh, the Celtics traded Nomar, popular guy, hometown guy, and then they win. Celtics do the same thing to Marcus and they win. But things were going poorly with Nomar. And not only had the Red Sox had a bunch of disappointments, Nomar was kind of a malcontent. He had an adversarial relationship with the media. He very famously put a line in front of his locker and said, "Don't step in front of that line. Don't step over that line." He was sulking in the dugout, being pulled from a game. Like he was. It was very obvious that the Celtics, the Red Sox, needed to trade Nomar, whereas the Celtics did not need to trade Marcus Smart, other than they needed salary to match the Kristaps Porzingis contract. So did they need to trade Marcus Smart? No. But trading Marcus did kind of change a little bit of the vibe, and I think they needed a little less of the chaotic nature of Marcus's game, and they needed a little bit more of the steady part of Holiday's game. And Holiday was just a more consistent shooter, and that's just for what Joe was looking for. It did make sense. So was it a need to trade Marcus? No, not the same way they needed to trade Nomar. So I think the circumstances were different. I think people are making that connection wrongly. And if you remember that 2004 season and how things were going with Nomar, you'll see it was a very different situation than Marcus, who was still, I think, mostly in the good graces of the Celtics. And this was a difficult decision, whereas trading Nomar wasn't a very difficult decision at that point. James asks if Jordan Walsh gets pulled up to the big club from Maine and what our summer league roster is. Well, this Jordan Walsh is already under a guaranteed contract. So just because he was in Maine, he wasn't on a two-way deal. He's on an actual guaranteed contract, right? He's not so he's already technically a member of the Boston Celtics. He's not like Drew Peterson on a two-way deal. He's guaranteed, and he's potentially going to earn a spot. I mean, I don't know that he has any kind of guarantee to play. It's very possible that he can spend a majority of his season in Maine again. But he went home with, I'm sure, the homework, as I like to put it: add more muscle, get that jump shot down, be able to handle some of the things defensively, and learn some of the things defensively, and be able to process things quicker. Like all of that stuff, any first, second year player has to do. And he'll come in with an opportunity to crack the rotation. No guarantees, no nothing, but it's not out of the question that he could be part of the rotation, but I think it's most likely, considering the same starting five is coming back eventually, that Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard and Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman, and those guys are going to have major roles off the bench. There is an opportunity to have another backup wing, a more defensive-minded backup wing that can hit some shots. That's an opportunity for him for sure. But I can't say that there's any sort of guarantee that he's going to be a part of the Boston Celtics, even though he is technically under contract from by the Boston Celtics, but he could spend a majority of his season in Maine. Michael asks, now that the roster is almost entirely set, what are your thoughts on the center position to open the season? So, we know KP is going to be out. He asked, do you think the Celtics should also tell Al not to hurry back? I think Al, you don't have to worry about Al. He's going to be in great shape, He's going to be ready to go no matter what. So Al will be ready to play. They're not going to overtax him early on. They're not going to make it so they're not going to be like, oh, well, you got to play back-to-backs. They're not going to play him 35 minutes. So what's going to happen is he'll be ready to play. He'll be ready to start. He's going to take his break this summer. He's probably, as I'm recording this, on a beach somewhere chilling. But also, he is very meticulous about keeping himself ready. So he will come back to training camp ready to go. But the Celtics will take it easy. Like they're maybe 20, 25 minutes to start. So Tillman will have his time. Cornette will have his time. They will go small. Tatum will get some time at the 5 in small lineups. Nemish Keita will get some opportunity. So however they decide to make that rotation, it's going to be a mix of guys. Al will be ready. The other guys will be ready. Nimi will have his opportunity. This is going to be a big opportunity for him. I think he's going to spend this summer making some good strides. Tillman coming back healthy. We've talked about that, and we'll talk about him some more coming back on the other side of the break. But that rotation, I think, is just going to be fluid. Everybody's going to get a shot. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for everybody. So I haven't been worried about it all summer long so far. And so I still am not really worried about that. So let's talk more about Tillman, and we'll talk a little bit about Boston versus the world when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. I've talked a lot about my therapy. I've gone through a lot of talk therapy, and it's been very beneficial to me. It's helped me become, I believe, a better person. And I think it can help you. It can help anybody. But I know that there are roadblocks, that finding somebody is tough. Sticking with somebody is tough. And it's privacy. Some people might be embarrassed. BetterHelp can help you get through a lot of these potential roadblocks to finding and getting the therapy that that could help you. It's all done online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It's suited to your schedule. You go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You'll get 10% off your first month, but you'll also fill out a questionnaire that matches you with a licensed therapist. Very important. This is a licensed therapist. And if you click, great. You have found yourself a therapist, and you can get to work on whatever level of thing you want to get through. If you don't click, no problem. Switch right away. You can get somebody else. You can keep doing it until you find somebody that clicks. That's the important thing. That, to me, is a huge selling point here for BetterHelp. So go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Get your 10% off. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'll be there this Wednesday with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. But we got rotating hosts all week long talking about the biggest stories in the NBA. So go check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Back to the questions here. Patty says, I heard you say Xavier Tillman is not the new Al Horford, and I agree. That said, do you think the Celts need Tillman to replace Al's role, switching and hitting threes, in a year or two if they want to keep winning championships? Well, the year or two is really up for some debate. So this year, obviously, they have a chance. They're favored. The year after, I still expect, unless Al Horford is so suddenly washed up that he's going to say, I'm done, or the Celtics should be like, no, we're done with you. I expect Horford to come back on a year-to-year basis. So I don't think, even though he's under contract next year for what is it, $9.5 million, $9.5 million. I expect him to come back for the 25-26 season at less than that. So I think he might stick around for at least a couple of years. After that, yeah, they're going to start needing somebody to replace him, and they're going to have to start going with a high IQ. They're going to have to find a high IQ, big that can pass and move and defend and all of that stuff. That's going to be a priority. I don't know what that means. If Tillman, because he's under contract for this year and next year, 2 years from now, it's only a 2-year deal. Is he going to be the guy? Maybe. He's 25. We've talked about this multiple times on the show. He's coming off that knee soreness. I think if he's 100% healthy and he adds to his game and grows into his prime and figures out a jump shot, then yeah, he could be a long-term answer, because you have to understand, like, Al does a lot, but at the same time, Al doesn't score a ton all the time. And if somebody can give you, I don't know, 60 to 70% of what Al Horford does, that would be enough to I think, keep the Celtics in contention for what they need. But obviously, that also depends on who else is here, because after 2 seasons, Porzingis is an unrestricted free agent. And that 26-27 season, if Al comes back for 1 year after his contract is over and then leaves, then you have the potential for Porzingis, Horford, and Tillman all to be gone. Luke Cornett, who knows what he's going to be. There's going to be a lot of salary that goes away in that season, and there might have to be another salary that goes away in Drew Holiday, most likely, that, so the Celtics can get away from that second apron and away from the financial restrictions. So the short answer, the too long didn't read answer, is somebody's going to have to replace Al. I don't know if it's Tillman, but that would be nice if he could be the guy. Anthony says, Woj said the Houston Rockets, currently coached by Ime Udoka, have interest in trading for Kevin Durant. At one point, the Celtics, then coached by Ime Udoka, talked about trading Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant. Is this a Udoka thing or a happy coincidence? I'm going to say it's a happy coincidence. The Celtics probably did not talk very significantly about trading for Kevin Durant. I think that obviously worked out for the best. I'm not going to say, like, of course, Kevin Durant is an awesome basketball player, and I think most teams would want him. But I'm not going to say that Ime is driving some sort of, whatever team I'm on, we've got to get Kevin Durant. And I don't think Ime was pushing for Kevin Durant and was overruled or anything like that. So I think Durant happens to just be available, and the Rockets have the assets, and Udoka happens to be the coach, and that's just how it goes. Peter says, do you think the Celtics could win Olympic gold? I feel like their balance of star power, overall talent, and team connectivity is better than the collection of all-stars that Team USA will put out there to try to figure things out on the fly. It's an interesting concept, because it kind of goes into what makes these other teams as successful as they are. And that's continuity. The Celtics have continuity. Team USA does not. They're relying on talent. And that's one of the criticisms of Team USA. And that's why they've tried to get long-term commitments from these stars, so the guys that are coming back at least have some sort of history of playing together. Now, does that mean the Celtics continuity trumps the talent and trumps some of the talent on these other teams? I don't know that it does. There are some very good teams out there. There are teams with, France is a very good team. There are a lot of high quality teams with multiple NBA players on there. Could the Celtics on their own win a gold medal? Sure, absolutely. Tatum, Brown, Holiday. I mean, you got 2 Olympians already on your team anyway. Derek White was going to be on the team if Kawhi Leonard was unable to go. So that would have been 3. Jaylen Brown has been a part of Team USA in the past. So that's 4. And Al Horford, like that's a pretty good team. The international rules make it a little bit more difficult, and the talent, the deep talent on some of these other teams makes it not impossible for somebody to beat the Celtics. But if the question, do you think the Celtics team could win Olympic gold? Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. And I think that's true of any NBA champion. But a collection of talent from these countries does not make that a guarantee. I think any NBA champion could go out there and win a gold medal. I'm not saying they would. I'm saying they could. But they could also lose because some of these teams are really, really good and full of NBA players themselves. But this Celtics team it plays a style, to your point, Peter, that I think works. And if they just got used to the international rules, I think they could easily, they could win a gold medal. I would love to see that. I would love to see that just so we can get this world champion thing settled once and for all. I don't mind calling a team world champions because the Celtics are the best professional team in basketball. They are the world champions, the professional world champions. There's no other professional team out there that can beat the Boston Celtics or any NBA champion. I'm sorry. The EuroLeague champions could not beat the Boston Celtics. Now, if Team France wants to take on the Celtics in an exhibition, sure, let's do it. But I think the term world champions absolutely qualifies as far as professional teams go, not teams like Olympic teams or collections of talents from around a certain country, because that's a different team. That's something different. So yeah, I don't mind the world champion thing. And I do think the Celtics could win gold. All right. That's the podcast. Again, if you want to submit a question, it's johnkaralis.com/mailbag. If you want to buy a book, you can go to triumphbooks.com/CelticsWin, or go to Amazon or wherever you get your podcast, wherever you get your books. And, or in Boston, they're out in the wild. You might find them in stores as you're shopping. So go check it out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. If you're not subscribed, please do so. If you're not in the comment section, let me know what you're thinking. And if you haven't shared the podcast yet, please tell your friends, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.